Thriving Women's mission is to inspire our viewers to thrive, not just survive. Let's take a moment and introduce your Thrive Tribe. Noel Ramos, investment coach from Atlanta, Georgia. Sabrina Protic, author and life coach from Tampa Bay, Florida. Stacy Pesaw, life coach from Palm Harbor, Florida. Gina Marie Casano, transformational coach from Bayville, New York. Dr. Lita J. Harris, gynecologist from Corona, California. Whitney Hartford, social media influencer from Miami, Florida. Genesis Haycrick, workflow coach from Sarasota, Florida. Brianna Johnson, financial coach from Chicago, Illinois. Sylvia Camacho, financial coach from La Habra, California. Let's get ready to be empowered, and here's your Thrive Tribe. Thriving Women Talk is powered by the Trendsetters Mentor Group, an exclusive membership for mentorship on Facebook.
Welcome everyone to Thriving Women Talk. My name is Gina Marie Casano. I am streaming live from Bayville, New York with the Thrive Tribe once again. Today's show will enlighten, encourage, and empower our viewers around the world. This is encouraging because 65% of Americans said that the pandemic has provided them with a wake-up call to reach out to their communities. A new survey of 2,000 Americans revealed more than half are doing just that by volunteering. In fact, 52% reported volunteering in their communities for the very first time as a result of the circumstances brought on by the pandemic. Delivering food to essential workers, 35%. Volunteering to help elderly or incapacitated, maintaining their homes, 23%. And volunteering at food pantries, 20%, were among the most common ways respondents have volunteered since the start of the pandemic a year ago. I can't believe it's been. But while we're on the topic of good news, I would like to welcome back to the show Genesis, our co-host. Let's bring her on. She's coming on. She was out. There you are.
Hi.
Welcome back, Genesis. We are so glad to have you back. How are you feeling? And what encouraging news do you have for us?
I am so glad to be back, everybody. Great to be here with all of you. I love my Thrive Tribe. I love all of you ladies. And I have some great news that I've been healing very well. I'm not sure if anyone was able to share, had the opportunity to do that, but I did have surgery and I've been recovering over the past few weeks. So I want to thank you all for your support, for your prayers, for your thoughts. It's been so incredibly encouraging. So thank you for that. I am definitely back and I'm ready to roll, and we've got some great topics today. So I'm really encouraged to be able to speak on that. And so what I'd like to talk about, Gina, AstraZeneca reported Monday that its COVID-19 vaccine provided strong protection among adults of all ages in a long-anticipated U.S. study, a finding that could help rebuild public confidence in the shot around the world and move it a step closer to clearance in the U.S. In the study of 30,000 people, the vaccine was 79% effective at preventing symptomatic cases of COVID-19. That's pretty good, 79%. And that's including all older adults. There were no severe illnesses or hospitalizations among vaccinated volunteers, compared with 5 such cases in participants who received dummy shots. A small number, but consistent with findings from Britain and other countries that the vaccine protects against the worst of the disease. AstraZeneca also said the study's independent safety monitors found no serious side effects, including no risk of rare blood clots. Stacy, how was your weekend? Stacy, and on the sorry, Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say my weekend was good. I actually was able to get away for a little like spring break, so to speak, and went up to the mountains. So that was really nice.
That's awesome, Stacy. Sorry, there was kind of a little glitch there. That is wonderful. Oh my goodness. It's just an amazing opportunity to be able to get away and experience something different. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots and lots of Floridian license plates up in Georgia. So, they said come down to the beach and you guys come up to the mountains. So
Absolutely. And Stacy, on the topic of cabin fever, has things calmed down in Florida over the weekend due to the spring breakers? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually I was in Atlanta when I heard about that, and I actually texted my daughter because my daughter's down in Boca, which is right by Miami, and I just sent her a text because I knew she was working, and I said, I have to just give you kind of some kudos that you're working and you're not being a part of this, because I don't know if some people heard, but Miami Beach got flooded with spring breakers and there was no social distancing or anything like that going on. And, I'm going to read her reply because I think it's really important. And she said, I literally have not been to one club or bar or any kind of public thing since I've been here. I have family and friends who I need to do my best to protect. And I was just like, oh, it's so great to be able to have her be aware of that and thinking about others. And I think sometimes we can kind of forget about that because we all have that spring fever, right? It's like wanting to kind of, get out. And Miami Beach Commission actually held an emergency meeting Sunday afternoon to discuss extending this curfew and closing some of the causeways just to really kind of try to get a handle on the unruly crowds because they were visiting, right, during spring break. And so the commission decided unanimously that the curfew is going to be extended for another 3 weeks. And they're going to enforce it Thursday through Sunday until at least April 12th, which is basically the end of the official spring break time. And Fort Lauderdale, on the other hand, they're actually having a much calmer spring break than Miami Beach. And their officials said that the curfew went well, even with the late notification. And they expected that there would be some, residentials or, people who didn't even think that the curfew was in place, but they've got some, they got it kind of under control. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to get some feedback from our younger co-hosts and Brianna and Whitney, and just kind of get your perspective on like what your thoughts are around this, and maybe if you could offer some helpful advice to parents on how to help their kids and making these decisions. Let's go ahead. I'd love to hear you guys.
Okay. Well, first of all, it sucks that here we are with another spring and warm weather breaking, and we have to go through these restrictions because it can often feel as if, we're bottled up. And, for me personally, I've been in the house a lot, and the effect that I saw that it's had on me lately is I felt down. I felt like, I didn't have much motivation. I felt like I was getting a little sick, but as soon as I went outside to take a walk, everything just got better. So I can understand how it can play a huge role in people's lives, especially young teens. So I don't know. I guess I would say for parents, maybe create a more interactive schedule with your family. Do some fun things at home, things that the whole family can look forward to, some games, maybe go outside, in the backyard, do picnics, but create a schedule where it's very fun, something to look forward to, instead of like, okay, we're just cooped up in the house together, no activities and nothing to do, nothing to look forward to. So yeah,
that's great. How about you, Whitney?
I actually couldn't agree with Brianna more, just because, with my 9-year-old and the kids, we're all cooped up in the house, and it's like, what do you do? You know, what are we going to do during this downtime? And really, you know, putting on a schedule. I told Nala, you know, you're doing good in school. We'll go to the pool, you know, for a couple hours and get outside the house. And that's a safe zone. But at the same time, you got to balance that out. And we also do family walks. You know, we do, actually, this is really fun. If you guys could do like a Nintendo night, Super Smash Brothers or something like that. We have a family game night where we play on the Switch. Little fun activities where you can all engage as a family, but also take your time too. You know, that you can take this time to work on maybe working out, doing something that you've been wanting to do personally that you haven't been able to get to. Maybe reel back your focus and think about, what can I achieve during my downtime now that I have versus before when I was always out and about. So that's kind of my opinion on it.
Yeah, I love that family game night. Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. So, Sabrina, I know you're going to be sharing our hot topic for our show today. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I want to get to that hot topic, but I just want to say I've been eating a lot of popcorn. That's my escape, movies and popcorn. So if anybody wants to know what I do, we chill in with the movie, and we've been watching a lot of true stories. That's what we watch. You know, Netflix has a lot of true stories, and we've actually learned a lot and been educated on a lot of things we didn't know. So I'm going to recommend true stories and documentaries on Netflix with some popcorn. So our latest topic, hot topic, is inspired by events that have occurred from March 16th this year, 2021, a series of mass shootings that have occurred, and you've probably read about it, in spas or these massage parlors in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia, and the United States. 8 people were killed, 6 of them women, and whom were Asian, and 1 person was wounded. A suspect, 21-year-old Robert Aaron Long, was taken into custody later that day. Now, this is very disheartening because he was headed to Florida after that. I kind of was watching the script, watch all this unfolded, and he was not done with his mission. And I'm not certain that we still really know what his intent was. But Gina, I mean, this just really shook me up because you don't necessarily like have homage to your state, but just to know he was going to bring that carnage to Florida was just really shook me up. Do you have more perspectives, anything from the state of New York, what's going on? Can you share that with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a really tough time. We had a 60-year-old Sri Lanka man was riding the subway in Lower Manhattan on last Friday when another passenger yelled a racial slur and punched him in the head, leaving him bloodied and in critical condition. And then on Saturday morning, a 66-year-old man of Asian descent was punched in the face on the Lower East Side. Then on Sunday came 3 more attacks, and the police said that a woman of Asian descent was thrown to the ground in Midtown. Another was hit in the face with a metal pipe on the Lower East Side. And then a third was punched in the face twice after she attended a demonstration in Union Square in support of Asian American victims with her younger daughter, I'm sorry. The attacks around New York City over the weekend coming as hundreds of marchers gathered in multiple areas to protest, to call for an end to such assaults, were more examples of violence directed at Asian Americans amid a new wave of xenophobia that emerged during the pandemic. And the Thrive Tribe stands against stereotypes, racism, and violence against all humans. And nevertheless, we must do our part to enlighten our listeners on social issues that divide us. We have invited 2 of the most respected and admired Asian Americans to the show to share their passion, purpose, and a perspective on these events. And I just want to share, I know that we are wearing red. Well, most of us are wearing red, right, in support of that. And my shirt, as closest to red as could be, says "Be kind." So that's my red support.
Can I say something real quick about that? I appreciate you sharing the news that happened in other places, because oftentimes we feel like it's just happening to us or just our state. But just those incidences that you brought up shows that this really is a worldwide problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So as Gina mentioned, we're all wearing our red today, and the reason we are wearing our red is in honor of Women's History Month. And so, like we've mentioned before, we have selected 2 Asian American women entrepreneurs as our honorees for today. First one is Lee Tran. She is the author of the book, I Didn't Miss the Boat. And we have also welcomed Marie Espero, and she is a registered investment advisor. And both of these women are very, very thriving immigrants. And so Lee came from Vietnam, and Maria, she's from the Philippines. And when we come back, I'm very excited to get to hear their story. But right now, we're going to take a sponsored break, and we're going to be enlightened on our hot topic for today, model minority myth, and how this stereotype only divides races against each other instead of uniting all the races. And we're going to be right back.
Choice and opportunity, the foundation of the Capital Choice mission. We believe everyone has the choice to take control of their own financial independence, and we want to give more people the opportunity to achieve their goals. At Capital Choice, we help make financial wellness a reality, and you can be a critical part of the charge, a part of something bigger. Our associates are more than just salespeople to us. We're a team, a family that supports each other, and we have fun doing it. We want you to succeed. So we offer mentorship and training to help you get comfortable with the industry and serving clients. Our goal is to get you to a place of independence, to be in business for yourself. You choose how to grow, and we'll never take that away from you. Your business focus, how you build your team, how you serve clients, how high you climb, full-time versus part-time. The sky's the limit, and we'll be there for help and support along the way. At Capital Choice, we are passionate, empathetic, real. We give everyone equal opportunity, but you have the control and make the decisions. Want to see what you can achieve with more choice and opportunity? Join our team and find freedom with Capital Choice. Your business, your choice.
Asian Americans make up about 5% of the U.S. population, but I'm convinced that Hollywood hasn't caught up to this fact yet. Even though 4.4 of all speaking roles in the top 100 films was held by an Asian American actor, how many Asian American lead actors do we have? I couldn't find the data online, so you tell me. The numbers alone don't matter if we are so poorly represented in the media. Even positive stereotypes such as the so-called model minority myth hurts us. So let's talk about it. There's positive stereotypes with Asians. Asians are good at math. Asians are smart. They're high achievers and all that. It seems like it's great to be a model minority. But on the other hand, there are also really negative things to be said about Asians, like Asians are bad drivers. We eat really weird food. And both are equally harmful because the truth is, not all Asians are high achievers, and there's disparities within our own pan-Asian ethnicity group. The model minority myth claims that all Asians are very wealthy and college educated, but we have data that proves otherwise. Using the US Census and research from the School of Education at Johns Hopkins, we can prove that the model minority myth does not prove true for all Asian Americans. While it's true that 42% of Asian Americans as a whole group have at least a college degree, that's not true of all Asian ethnicities. So in order to disprove this myth, we need to break it down. The most successful of the Asian American groups include Taiwanese Americans, Indian Americans, Korean Americans, and Chinese Americans. They have at least a college degree or higher. But that high level of educational attainment is not true universally for all Asian ethnicities. Although 25.8% of Vietnamese Americans have at least a college degree or higher, 29.4% have less than a high school diploma. As for Hmong people, 14.7% have a college degree, 37.9% have less than a high school degree. For Cambodians, 14.1% have a college degree or higher, while 37.4% have less than a high school diploma. As for Laotian Americans, 12.4% have at least a bachelor's degree or higher, while 33.8% have less than a high school diploma. So can we really say that all Asians are doing well academically? Maybe not. Maybe we could also debunk the myth that all Asians are wealthy. Going back on the US Census data, we can see that poverty does exist for Asians. 14.7% of Vietnamese Americans are living below the poverty line, 15% of Koreans live below the poverty line, and 13.4% of Chinese. We can compare it to the national average, which shows that Asian Americans are not that far away. 14.3% of all Americans live in poverty. Not all Asians are wealthy, like the model minority myth claims. But it's a controversial thing. You could look it up online about like the whole social economics between different Asians. It's really fascinating. But perhaps what is most damaging is that the model minority myth makes it so easy to overlook critical issues in our community, which includes depression, language barriers, and definitely the divide between two conflicting cultures. So in the end, I ask you to look not only at the ethnicity, but the person as a whole.
Welcome back to Thriving Women Talk. We have invited Maria Asparo and Ian Tran to the show today in honor of Women's History Month. So welcome, ladies, to Thriving Women Talk.
Good morning. Thank you. Hi. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we want to take a moment and we want to get to know you better. So we have kind of a tradition here, and I would love to hear about you as well. And I want to invite you to share to our viewers 3 words that describe your personality, and what is your empowering story as immigrants that encourages others to thrive and not just survive in the United States. So let's start with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is actually the chance for me to be able to share with all the Asian friends that I have. And in fact, they were very excited that this will be, I'll be part of your show. And just remember, there are a lot of viewers right now watching, just so they wanted to be able to, so we would be able to express ourselves. So coming to America as an Asian American has been a blessing, hopeful, to find a better opportunities, and leaving behind life is very exciting, but at the same time, I have anxiety because of the difference in culture and language barriers. But as an immigrant, I just want to have a firmer footing in this country, and just like anything, we want safety, security, the chance to belong. And a lot of us who came here, actually, I came here because America granted my father is a Philippine Army, and he fought in the World War II, so that we were granted to be able to come to America. So this was a chance for us to have a better life, but it was really a really hard start, because when we came here, we had difficulty getting a job because, number one, we didn't have the local experience, and they said that we are overqualified. So I had to make some adjustments in my resume so I'll be able to get into a very menial job. And but you just work your way up, and then I found myself in the business of my own. And yeah, it's really hard work, but it is exciting. And this is really America is really a land of opportunity for us, and we're just excited to meet a lot of great people around here and influence our lives and become the best version of ourselves.
Well, thank you, Maria. I appreciate you sharing and being on the show, and we'd love to hear from Leah.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say that thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience about what happened lately, which is really heartbroken to see attack after attack. And I came to America with a refugee background, which is like 41 years ago. My dad was serving in the Southern Army in Vietnam, and that's why we also granted the status to be here when we escaped Vietnam in the refugee camps. So it is a long journey, and the whole thing is because, again, we fled Vietnam because we wanted freedom. And just no better place on earth to give us that freedom than here in America. And it definitely is a struggle. I mean, it's a journey. It's a long journey. It's a struggle of dealing with understanding the language, the culture, and adapting everything new. You building everything from the ground up. We come here with nothing in our bag except some clothing, and it was just thanks to a lot of people who took us in, our sponsor, our church in Minnesota, just like people pouring out. There's a lot of racism out there, but there's a lot of great people out there who's open armed and give love to the unfortunate one. I mean, it's like being a refugee, it's tough, but being able to settle in America, that's the dream that not every refugee can achieve. And we are just grateful and feel very privileged. And I think that there's always some bad apple somewhere in the parcel. You can't just saying all of people are bad. It's just so much we have to untangle. And I think that we can do it. Love can overcome. And I want to say that the opportunity of having us here to speak up, that is a great way to heal and to spread the kindness, the love to other racial. So this is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marie and Leah. This is so incredibly heartfelt for me because my oldest is 25% Vietnamese. So this is a near and dear topic to my heart, and it's painful to know what's happening and what's been going on to the severity. And I love what you said, Leah, about just love being, that's the answer. We have to open our arms up, and everyone has to be in this together, to be on the same page, to move forward and to recover, to be able to, take the right types of action steps. And it is very, very challenging when even a few are out of line because they're taking a leadership role in different forms to do, things that we don't agree with. So, like I said, I want to thank you so much for sharing your voice and being on today. And this takes us to our topic of model minority myth that is inspired by the current events that have happened recently in Atlanta and New York. Since the start of the pandemic last spring, Asian Americans have faced racist violence at a much higher rate than previous years. The NYPD reported that hate crimes motivated by anti-Asian sentiment jumped 1,900% in New York City in 2020. It's really unbelievable. Stop AAPI Hate, a reporting database created at the beginning of the pandemic as a response to the increase in racial violence, received 2,808 reports of anti-Asian discrimination between March 19th and December 31st of 2020. And many have pointed out that racial violence against Asian Americans often goes overlooked because of persistent stereotypes about the community due to the model minority myth. This is a stereotype and an assumption that Asian Americans have class privilege, that they have high socioeconomic status and education, and that any discrimination doesn't really happen or feel legitimate, which is so out of line and so wrong. And this is stated by Bianca Mabut-Louis, a racial justice educator. Marie and Leah, can you share the impact these events have had on your soul? And what has been your prior experience or personal perspective when it comes to this myth of model minority?
So I want to say, is it echoing? I want to say that with all the statistic out there, I'll bet you there's a lot more cases that have gone unreported. Asian is a very peaceful race, and they're not boat rocking kind of people. So a lot of time they just brush against the shoulder and say, maybe it's just, something minor. We shouldn't do that, or afraid of retaliation. So, but the thing is, this is so wrong. And I'm so glad that the media actually start talking about it. and people will start speaking up about it. There's a lot of time we just go on silent and just hoping that it's going to go away. So that comes to the point that words really matter. Words are so matter because word can sow seed of hatred, or word can spread love of kindness. And when there's, people who point fingers and blame and spit out words that creating more division, it's going to take a long time to spread it and to heal it. So I think that you are seeing the residual of the rhetoric that we have been listening for the last, few years. And it's much easier to blame than to solve the problem. And people like to blame and point fingers and get their angers out, which does not solve anything, because these people, they lost the loved one. They lost lives. They get sick just like everybody else in the United States. They didn't bring anything, but it is sad that some people just couldn't think beyond that. So hopefully that by speaking up across the nation, people bring it out to the light, people will probably notice more and look out for their neighbors, their friends, their family better.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I think shedding more and more light on the circumstances as they are is the best thing that we can possibly do, just to be able to showcase, this isn't a light topic here. This isn't something that we just want to push under the rug, that it is incredibly serious and that we need to take action now to be preventative in order for us to determine what we can do to move forward from this. So thank you so much for sharing that, Leah. And Marie, I would love to ask you as well, what are common stereotypes that you experience in your field as an investment advisor in Chicago? And are you in fear of Asian hate that we are experiencing?
For us of the moment, the mere fact that you're women, you're a minority in the investment world, in the financial world, that's totally a big challenge, because you're not a white male. The financial world is more of a male-dominated industry. But then if you're, it's just like as long as you know what you're doing, you're the best in the field that you're in. It really doesn't matter. It's not about the money. It's really about helping people. So a lot of the clients that I have developed, they like as a woman, because we have more empathy on where they are right now, and you're able to fill their shoes when they're a widow, they're either single, they're widow, and they have children. So it's easier for us. So sometimes we just have to have the best version of ourselves. I understand that the Muslim minority, they always say like, oh, you have to cope with that. This is really not a compliment, but it's just like make ourselves invisible, that there are needs in our community, that we have different social structures, that the Asians are not all wealthy, but there are also poor Asians that need help. And because of this model minority, they just ignored us because they think like you're self-sufficient and you're able to do the things you have to do. But that's how I feel. But with this one, I think a very basic thing, like with this, why they actually have this, I'm sorry, that's me, my Asian thing, I have 172 languages that I have to process and speak in English. So when they say that, in 1965, immigration ban was lifted, only selected professional Asians were granted visas to the United States. So doctors, engineers, and mechanics came in. So with screening this process, by the way, is how the whole model minority quackery began. The US government allowed only the most educated and highly trained Asians in, and then took credit for all this success. See, anyone can live the American dream. they'd say about a doctor who already came to the country as a doctor. So what we're saying is that we're here and we're glad we're here. It's a blessing. And I believe it's not an accident why we're here. We have a purpose, why in America. And I think it's just a matter of understanding. It's just a matter of understanding and respect for other cultures. That's all I could say.
Yes. Thank you. I just appreciate all of the inspiration that you're bringing, and absolutely, this is needed, right? This is a conversation that's needed, and we're going to go ahead and continue this conversation, and we're going to come back from our sponsor break.
Thriving Women Life Strategies is powered by Women Entrepreneurial Empowerment, commonly called WEE. The organization's mission is empowering women entrepreneurs through a platform of visibility, education, and strategic growth and development within the networking arena. Their doors are open to women of all ages, millennials, new startups, small business, and those needing a boost. If you are committed to excellence and you want to know more about WEE platform, message founder Sabrina Protic on Facebook or email her at www.agelesstechniques.com. Back to Thriving Women Talk.
A lot of people can see why what we might say is at face value an offensive stereotype might be problematic. A lot of people have trouble understanding why, in theory, a quote-unquote flattering stereotype, like somebody is high achievement. So what you're describing is, there's a stereotype of Asian people where they are high achieving. And a lot of people wouldn't immediately understand why that would be so problematic, even though we have a lot of studies that show that. Can you explain why even something that seems like a compliment, sort of, can be damaging?
Well, in that case, it's the model minority trope, right? Where you have to sort of excel beyond what anyone else does in order to assimilate. And in other instances, it's like the fetishization of your race, this idea that you're only desirable because you're an exotic species from somewhere else.
One of the things that you're talking about, it sounds like, is that there's almost an imposition of a stereotype of perfectionism. People are expecting you to be perfect based on your race. Can you explain to people why that may, to some people, feel complimentary in some ways, why it is potentially a huge burden?
I mean, people expecting you to be perfect it's just unattainable. They're asking for you to do something that's not physically possible. It's setting you up for failure. It also doesn't give you the room to make mistakes. It doesn't give you the space to just be who you want to be. I've just seen it be so harmful to people around me. Like we're judged by a different standard.
Since you're all here, why don't you tell me how it feels?
Hey, Sabrina, if we could get you to start us off, that would be great.
Sorry, I was on mute. So welcome back to Thriving Women Talk. We're having an open discussion of stereotypes and racism on the Asian American communities. We're honored to have Lee Tran and Maria Sparrow on our show today to get their perspectives. We've heard a little bit about that, but we're going to get a little bit more into discussion as to why these stereotypes exist and how they lead to bias and racism. Let's have a conversation about what we can do with these. We have a hashtag now. Hashtag stop the hate. That's hashtag stop the hate. We know that bias is a human condition and that American history is rife with prejudice of all kinds against all groups and individuals because of their race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or other characteristics. Nevertheless, as a nation, we've made a lot of progress. We've come a long ways, but the stereotyping and unequal treatment still persist. When bias or stereotypes motivates unlawful acts, it's considered a hate crime. That's against any culture. Most hate crimes wear many faces. Bias incidents also, they tear communities apart and can escalate very quickly into actual crimes, as we've just seen recently. Lee and Maria, from your personal perspectives, what's missing in this national conversation on bias, racism, and stereotypes against Asians that could possibly unite us? Let's hear from Lee on this.
What's missing? Dialogue, conversation, and also integrate between project and work together. I think when people don't celebrate their uniqueness together in open with other people, or people don't take the time to understand, usually fear comes when you don't know the other race. Fear comes when you don't know them. And it's like, I have friends who knows me, and I appreciate all the phone calls, all the texts, all the email asking about me because they know me personally. If they don't know me, I'm just another Asian, on the front page, they wouldn't know. But if you have friends, you are being treated differently. So trying to go out of your comfort zone and make friends with different race and have a dialogue and celebrate what they're celebrating and help them, understand who you are. So that's the only way to communicate and to understand each other and not fearful of each other. I went to Singapore right before the pandemic, the year before, and I really applaud the way that I saw on the TV. There's commercial or there's project that Singapore is made up of Indian, Chinese, and Malaysian, and they promoting so many small projects of interracing crossing project, and we don't hear a lot of those kind of promotion here on the news. I mean, over there they are promoting, they give reward for community service that cross culture. And that's the only way that we can live harmoniously, if we understand who the other side of the race. So I think, if we can do project and do things between cultures, that will ease up a lot of hate, and it will keep creating a lot more friendship than hatred.
That's a great point, is doing projects together and cross culture. Do you guys remember the We Are the World commercial? And all these cultures of people standing together? I think we need another dose of that, just to see everybody. And then we need people who stand for something in the communities. When they see all these people coming together as one, that's a feel good. Maria, what's your expressions on this? What do you think that's missing and resolving this hate cultural thing?
I totally agree with Tran, Leah, and that's true. I mean, in Chicago, I love to go around the world, but just being in Chicago is like, because there are like all different ethnic groups. We've got Bricktown, you've got Chinatown, you've got the Indian town, all those different cultures. And just knowing each of these cultures and dining in those little restaurants, really like you're knowing the culture, you're knowing the people around there. And I think it's just understanding who they are. It's a beautiful thing. But people just like becomes hateful because they just want a scapegoat of their insecurity or their low self-esteem, or they are hateful because they're lonely. They're seeking connection, and they might be lonely because the fear of the unknown, or maybe they're insecure of what's going on. But if we as human beings come together and make somebody comfortable and understand each one, and that would be a beautiful place. But when the protesters all over the country knew, when they cried, stop Asian hate, stop Black hate, stop all hate, and asking all Americans to unite and eradicate systemic racism in this country. Because what happened is that we are being pitted with each other, all minorities, so that, when somebody says like, why can't you do it? The Asians can do it. That's not supposed to be the case, because each one is individual, has their own challenges. They have, so like the Asian become invisible, and they don't have social help, So it's really important that all together we can be united in this situation.
I really like that comment you made on getting the social help. So it's not one person, it's going to be a group, and also education. Education is going to be needed to get us out of this bind that we're in and where we are. Sylvia, what are your comments on this?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Marie and Leah, for being with us today, this morning. From your perspective, is there a lack of communication in the communities among us, different minorities, races between Black and Brown, that lead to racism against each other?
You asking me, or you asking who you ask?
I can either one. Leah, you want to answer this?
Yeah, I think that there's not a lack of communication, but we definitely could have more. We definitely could have more initiative between different culture and different races, because whatever happened to the Black people eventually will happen to the Asian people, and whatever happened to the Asian people will eventually happen to the Latino, to the Middle East, to every race. We're a human race. We should be treated in one race, especially this country is the salad tossing, everybody celebrating their own uniqueness, but you can actually have a beautiful salad. You don't have to have just tomato or just, lettuce, because that wouldn't be a great salad. In this country, what we have is the benefit in this country is we have many variety, and we have to stand up for each other, to speak out, because what happened to you will happen to me. What happened to me will happen to somebody else who do not look like the majority. And we need to draw on that united force to speak up when things are not done right, because our nation is much greater than that. I think, I have so much hope for this country, and I think this is still the best place to live on earth. But obviously, there's still a lot more improvement need to be made, and we have made progress, and somehow we kind of like sliding back a little bit. So we got to step up and do better.
Thank you, Marie.
Yes. In that case, like Asians are typically shy, timid, and vulnerable. So a lot of stronger people will take advantage of that. Like this old man who was like, he's 75, who was just walking, they just like push him. The ladies, they were just protesting, and somebody just punched them. Okay, so that's our characteristics, is that you push me, I'm fine. You push me a little bit, I'm still good. You push me more, I'm still good. But when my back is on the wall, that's when I become like a pit bull, and I won't stop. I won't stop and really like fight back. So this is really something that people should understand, that there's just a limit on what they're going to be doing. But if they're like, just like, we're trying to be peaceful, we're just going to be loving, we're just find a life we just earn a living in America. So just like, leave us alone, and we'll just do the things that we have to do. So I think people should understand that there's people who just want to just live a happy life here. So, but I think like, for us, like working together is really awesome, because we understand where we come from. We understand how we live here. So all the different people of color like come together and we work this out, because we're minorities.
Absolutely. Leah and Maria, thank you guys so much for sharing such a powerful message with us. In the model minority myth video, the young lady stated that these stereotypes are not compliments, but are more divisive in nature and pit one race against the other, exactly like what you guys were sharing. So thank you guys so much for telling us ways on how we can better ourselves and more inform the community, so we can all grow together as a whole instead of who's what race. And with that being said, I'm going to pass this on to Sabrina Protek.
Yes, this has really been an eye-opener for us in terms of identifying the problem, but also what we can do. We came up with some workable solutions, both from Leah and from Marie. We want to thank both of you, by the way, like Whitney said, and I'm sure all of our hosts will agree. This has been an education and hearing real stories and feelings. And Marie, your experience coming to this country, and also Lee, how the things that you had to deal with, we would not know those things without you sharing those things with us. So thank you so much. We want to switch gears a little bit, and we want to bring on another guest that we have, Phil McComber, and we're going to be talking about, speaking of education, we're going to be talking about education. So children who are homeschooled, we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. They're actually children from all backgrounds. And what we're talking about, a new term is called social influency. That's new, social influency, that will enable these children to negotiate a variety of different social skills in situations and develop and maintain a strong relationships that work well with other races. And this kind of flows into our topic, that work well with other races in varying contexts. Phil, based on our show, what you've seen and what you know in education, from your professional perspectives, are we doing enough in the area of social skills to educate our children on the topic of improper stereotyping and the growing trend of bias and hate?
I think we can always do more, Sabrina. You know, with knowledge comes power. With knowledge comes growth. With knowledge comes change, right? So if we want to see change, we need to start in preschool and kindergarten and work our way up to increasing the knowledge. And I think so much time in education is spent on differences under this topic, when we really should be focusing on connections that like, may I give you a real life example in a kindergarten classroom? In a kindergarten classroom, this teacher did a wonderful job. She had a diverse student population. We had a student from Taiwan, 2 students from Mexico, and so on. We had someone from Poland, and then Turkey. And this was very unusual in Northern New England. You don't typically see that type of diversity. And so one way that I had suggested to bring everyone in together is in social studies. Once a month, it was, what is the country of the month? And the country of the month was based on where the student's family came from. And so right there, we were building connections, right? And saying, oh, well, what's different than living in the United States? What are some traditions? And then how can we have the family come in and share and speak to the group? So we were also making the family feel a real part of that community of school. And so the students learned the word connection. So even if they were different, they still had something in common. And we know that we can all form a connection with someone who's different than us, right? And teaching children that is so key.
Absolutely.
I love that, of connections. Brianna, you were going to weigh in on that?
Yeah. So, Phil, I know you mentioned the power of PACT, and that is used basically because you mentioned that it can teach anything. So can you give us an example of how the PACT, P-A-C-T, can be used to teach children about today's model minority myth?
Yeah, one of the reasons that I created the PACT is because I just see educators struggling with how to really manage how to teach all these different types of topics and deliver them to kids of all diversity, ability levels, right? And also ethnic background levels, because there's also that cross-cultural vocabulary issue that could really come into play with the topic we're discussing of today. And so I think that the real power of the teaching framework, the PACT that I've authored, is that you could really create these units to build not just social skills. To me, there's a big difference between teaching kids social skills like being polite, saying please and thank you, how to share, versus building social relationships. Social relationships are a continuum. This one thing that a child does here affects the other things in the relationship. And so it really gets kids to think before they act. Think before they act. And boy, would that have been nice to see in the recent events in the media. Think before you act, as opposed to not maintain your impulse control issues. And so that's where I think that the pact can really come in and really help people. But it's all about not just what are our differences, what do we have in common?
That's
So we are the world, just like you said, Sabrina. That was just a brilliant example, by the way. We need to bring back to just what your two guests said, love and no name calling, right? And the hashtag of we have connections, right? So one of the things the kindergartners did was, although they couldn't spell it all out themselves, the staff were writing it out for them. They all knew what hashtags were, right? The number sign isn't the number sign anymore. It's a hashtag. And so the kids were coming up with hashtags about the connections they had with their other diverse classmates, like hashtag, I love Thai food. That was what one child said, because the family came in and did a cooking activity of their favorite family dish. And so they had that connection. And so I think there's lots of things we could do in school to make this work our way up, including the parents in it. I think is wonderful.
Yeah. Group effort. Stacy, I know you want to try.
Oh, I love that. The hashtag of finding ways that the similarities, the things that we have in common. And it's amazing when you start to focus, not just focusing on the difference, but you change your focus, right? You change your lens and you focus on what are the things that we have in common. That's so important. You've taught us a lot. I know that, we've had you on before, talking about the power of the pact. And I'd love to just give you an opportunity to share with our listeners on how they can get your book, and why also we should encourage our educators and homeschoolers to use the pact to teach children.
Yes, my newest book just came out called Every Child Can Learn, and you can find that on Amazon. Every Child Can Learn. The quick link is a bit.ly link, bit.ly Every Child Can Learn, and it gets you right to that Amazon page. And I think one of the reasons that people should read this book is that you literally could go to any page of the book, open it up, get an idea, and implement it in 30 seconds. And that's what we need in education now, is just common sense education, that you could do things like this and they could apply to anything. Like you could open something up and say, wow, I could use that to teach cultural differences and similarities. How great, right? And Stacy, you were talking about, focusing on the similarities and the connections that we have and the different perspectives of how you look at it. I recommended this teacher get just these like really funny, like cool glasses, and all the kids had to pick, they all had 2 sets of glasses, and one of them had all black construction paper over it, and those were the not so nice things we say about people. And you put them on and said, wow, you really can't see the beauty of what's in front of you now because of that hate. Take those glasses off. Now let's put on our glasses of love and acceptance and connection. And now you could see everything. Tell me who you see. The kids got it. They just loved it. And that's what the pact is. The pact is about bringing fun back into learning.
Wow, I love that. I just got chills. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that and coming back. I know we're going to be bringing Sylvia on so that she can give our Spanish audience the summary.
Thanks very much. It was lovely to be here today.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Stacy. Gracias por sintonizar Hablando con Mujeres Prósperas. Mi nombre es Silvia Camacho y estamos en vivo con la tribu que triunfa. Nuestra misión cada semana es conversar con nuestras anfitrionas e invitadas en temas candentes, alentar a nuestra audiencia a prosperar, no solo a sobrevivir, y hacer una mejor versión de nosotros mismos. El show de hoy es muy iluminador, alentador e inspirador. empoderar a nuestra audiencia alrededor del mundo. También nos gustaría enviar una cálida bienvenida a nuestros nuevos espectadores de Valencia, España. ¡Wow! Muchas gracias por sintonizarnos. Este es algo alentador. El 65% de los estadounidenses dijo que la pandemia les ha proporcionado una llamada de atención para llegar a sus comunidades. También, un reporte de AstraZeneca reportó este lunes la vacuna contra el coronavirus, ha proporcionado una fuerte protección entre adultos y todas las edades. Y nuestro tema candente es estereotipo asiático. Apenas hace unos días, marzo 16 de este año 2021, masivos tiroteos se produjeron en 3 spas y en salones de masaje en el área metropolitana de Atlanta, Georgia. 8 personas murieron, 6 de las cuales eran mujeres asiáticas. Otra persona resultó herida. El sospechoso de 21 años, Robert Aaron Long, fue detenido más tarde ese mismo día. Qué triste, ¿verdad? Qué triste noticias que 8 mujeres asiáticas fallecieron hace unos días. Pero tenemos igual noticias inspiradoras. El mes de marzo es el mes de la historia de la mujer. Y por lo tanto, Thriving Women Talk Show, estamos vestidas de rojo en el mes de la historia. Tenemos 2 invitadas en nuestro show. Son de origen asiático-americano, mujeres emprendedoras. Leah Tran, autora del libro Didn't Miss the Boat. Y Marie Espero, asesora de inversiones registrada. Ambas son inmigrantes prósperas. Bienvenidas y gracias por estar con nosotros en el show este día. Bienvenidos nuevamente a Thriving Women Talk Show. El día de hoy también tuvimos nuestra invitada de la semana pasada, Phila McComber. Está con nosotros una vez más para darnos información del libro Every Child Can Learn. Nos explica cómo el programa ayuda a los estudiantes a pensar antes de actuar. El libro Every Child Can Learn lo pueden encontrar en Amazon. Este libro también ayuda para aprender, para usarlo y para implementar. Y no solamente es para estudiantes. Esto lo podemos implementar en todas las edades. Yo personalmente lo voy a usar para mi crecimiento. Y les quiero dar las gracias por emprender el viaje con nosotras y escuchar Hablando con Mujeres Prósperas, traído a ustedes por Trendsetter Mentor Group. Que tengan un excelente día. Regresamos contigo, Sabrina.
Sylvia, that was awesome. Thank you so much for summarizing our show in Spanish. We had a very empowering show today. Special thank you again to Maria Espero and Lee Tran. Thank you to our Thrive Tribe, Noel Ramos, Stacy Peasaw, Gina Marie Casano, Genesis Crick, Sylvia Camacho, Whitney Hartford, and Brianna Johnson. Special thank you to our Thriving Women Network producer, Daryl A. Johnson, and our engineer, Alan Chafin. We could not do this show without him managing this cast of women. So he does a phenomenal job every week. Remember to visit our new website, thrivingwomennetwork.com, and subscribe to our channel. Also, we have Uncomfortable Conversation Morning Show. We'll continue our conversation on hashtag Stop Asian Hate. But before we do, Whitney Hartford, what's in store at the end of our show today?
After every show, make sure you guys pop on Clubhouse for our post-show conversations, and that's at 1:15 after every show, Thriving Women Talk.
Wonderful. Once again, Thriving Women, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.